An aging lion once hailed as the king of the plains is found crushed in the coils of a giant python. But what happens next leaves even seasoned rangers speechless. This isn't just a rescue. It's a moment where legacy, loyalty, and wild fate collide in a way you'll never forget. What would you have done if you were in Kamau's boots? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read everyone. The sun climbed steadily over the grasslands of southern Savo, casting long shadows from scattered acacia trees onto the cracked earth. Ranger Kamau adjusted the strap of his rifle across his chest and squinted at the horizon. The dry wind blew fine dust across the trail, and somewhere in the distance, a hornbill cawed lazily. Beside him, Jabari scanned the sky. "You see that?" he asked, pointing. Kamau looked up. "Vultures. Circling." They both knew what that meant. Without a word, the two men broke into a steady jog, veering off their patrol route toward the circling birds. The grass grew taller as they moved off the trail, rustling against their legs. The air thickened with tension. Then they saw it. The great lion collapsed in a shallow hollow, wrapped in the brutal coils of a massive African rock python. Dust swirled as the beast writhed. The lion's chest barely moved. One paw twitched. Kamau froze. "That's Mfalme," he murmured. "That's the lion who saved my brother." Jabari turned sharply, eyes wide. "Are you sure?" Kamau nodded slowly. His voice carried both awe and dread. "I know him anywhere. Look at his mane, and the scar across his nose." The old lion's fur was faded, his ribs outlined beneath a golden coat dulled by age and dust. But his eyes, though dimmed, still held a flicker of fire. Kamau grabbed the radio. "This is Unit 4. Emergency. Lion entangled in a python. Location, southern boundary. Immediate backup requested." Static answered. The signal was weak. Kamau looked to Jabari. "We can't wait." The two rangers dropped their packs and drew closer. Mfalme, once the king of the plains, was slipping away, and the land held its breath. Before the python, before the age dulled his stride, Mfalme had been a symbol, muscle and might, wisdom and wrath in equal measure. He once faced down a pack of ravenous hyenas, their jaws snapping around a lion cub who had wandered too far from its pride. Mfalme charged, scattering the scavengers like leaves in a storm. He carried the cub back, growling against the protests of his own pride's males. The cub survived, and later became his shadow, ever at his flank, loyal and fierce. Years later, when a poaching group crept toward a watering hole under the midday sun, Mfalme stood alone between them and a herd of zebras. The men lifted their rifles, until the lion let loose a roar that cracked the silence like thunder. It echoed off the hills, sent flocks into the sky, and the poachers into retreat. Minutes later, a ranger unit arrived to find only prints in the dust, and Mfalme watching from the rise. He didn't guard territory, a local elder once said. He guarded harmony. Where Mfalme walks, nature breathes easier. He kept rival males in check, stared down buffalo herds that pressed too close to watering holes, and roared only when it was necessary, because when he did, everything listened. But time, relentless and quiet, wears even kings thin. His muscles softened, his pace slowed, yet the fire in his eyes never dimmed. And though the savannah saw new kings rise, Mfalme remained, watching from the tall grass, a memory with breath. The python hissed, body tightening with every breath Mfalme struggled to take. Kamau knelt beside the lion's head, pulling out a thick snake tong from his kit. "Hold steady," he told Jabari, voice tense. Jabari didn't answer. His focus was on the python's body, hands gripped around the tail end, already soaked in sweat. "Ready." Kamau locked the tong around the snake's neck. The serpent twisted violently, its head lashing out. Its fangs grazed the side of Jabari's boot, tearing leather, but not skin. "Move fast," Kamau barked. They pulled in unison, Kamau controlling the head, Jabari yanking the thick coils apart. The python's body flexed and writhed, tightening with each spasm. Mfalme let out a muffled, guttural groan. His legs twitched. His eyes fluttered shut. No, stay with us." Kamau yelled, straining. Dust swirled from the struggle, coating their faces and clothes. Then came the second danger. A low, bellowing grunt from the grass behind them. A massive buffalo bull stood just yards away, nostrils flaring, tail twitching. "Oh no," Jabari muttered. The commotion had drawn the bull from its territory, and it was not pleased. The animal stomped once, muscles tense, eyes locked on the intruders. Kamau's heart thudded. He couldn't let go of the python, not now. "Watch it," he snapped. "I'll hold the snake. Keep eyes on the bull." Jabari, now glancing back and forth, stepped slightly sideways, hands trembling. "We don't have time for this." The python hissed again. Kamau's arms burned from the strain. For a moment, everything teetered: lion, python, buffalo men. Then Kamau remembered. "My brother would have died," he whispered, "if Mfalme hadn't roared that day." With renewed resolve, he gave one last wrenching pull. The python's final coil came loose with a wet snap. Mfalme gasped. His chest rose, weak but alive. Kamau released the snake's head and shoved it aside. The python recoiled into the brush, dazed and defeated. The buffalo, startled by the sudden motion, snorted, and then, mercifully, turned away. Mfalme lay still, dust curling around his mane. Alive. The lion lay on a tarp hastily spread beneath the shade of a crooked acacia. Jabari cleaned the deeper wounds, while Kamau trickled water gently over Mfalme's mouth and brow. The bruising was severe. Purple-black rings where the python's coils had crushed muscle and slowed blood. But there were no deep punctures, no broken bones. Kamau knelt close, whispering, "You're not done yet, old friend." "Not today." Mfalme didn't respond, but his chest rose, slow and steady. Kamau's thoughts drifted again to quieter times. He remembered seeing Mfalme from a ranger's lookout one dry season years back. The lion stood alone atop a knoll, watching his former pride, now led by younger males. He didn't interfere. He simply watched. When a skirmish broke out at a watering hole, two prides clashing over space, Mfalme had descended, not with violence, but presence. He walked into the middle of the chaos and gave a single, deep-throated roar. Everything stopped. It wasn't dominance. It was recognition. He was followed, Kamau murmured, stroking the coarse mane. Even when he walked alone, the old lion stirred. One golden eye cracked open, then the other. Slowly, trembling, Mfalme lifted his head. Then, with a growl more air than sound, he forced himself upright. Kamau and Jabari stepped back instinctively. He stood, swaying, wounded, but upright. His gaze fell on the python's body nearby. Its lifeless length stretched across the dust. Mfalme blinked once, then turned his head to the horizon. Still a king. The sun sank lower in the sky, painting the landscape in warm amber light. Long shadows stretched across the plains as the heat began to wane. Mfalme took a step forward, then another. He limped slightly, his back legs stiff from the crushing coils, but his head was high and his gaze unbroken. Kamau and Jabari didn't follow. They knew better. Some things weren't meant to be accompanied. The old lion walked past the tree line into the tall, golden grass that swayed like a silent audience. Against the band of acacias at the horizon, his silhouette grew smaller. And then he was gone. The savanna held its breath. Narration rose. He walked not toward a pride or a throne, but toward rest. And the land he once guarded watched him go, in silence. True leadership isn't measured in how long you rule, but in what happens when you can't. Mfalme had stood for balance, for protection, for something greater than dominance. And in his final battle, it wasn't teeth or claws that saved him, but memory, respect, and the hands of those he once protected. Because in the wild, when the true kings fall, it is their world that lifts them. If Mfalme's story stirred something deep within you, if his quiet strength, his final battle, and his unyielding spirit reminded you of the silent heroes in your own life, then don't let his legacy fade into the grasslands. Like, share, and subscribe to help us tell more stories like his. Stories of courage, sacrifice, and a wild beauty that still breathes across our planet. Every creature, no matter how small or mighty, carries a story worth telling. And sometimes, the most powerful tales aren't in the roar of youth, but in the quiet strength of those who stood tall through the storms of time. Mfalme may walk alone now, but his echo still lives in the land he protected. Let's make sure it's heard. Let's make sure it's remembered. Because every life has a voice, and every roar, even the fading ones, deserves to be heard.